What is up? I'm realizing I need to change my scenes. Let me just do this. Okay, let me change my monitor. No, wrong one. There we go. I'm just unprepared with YouTube scenes. I need to fix that. I need to do some stuff. T-Box, welcome, buddy. Welcome. I don't know if that's how you say your name. I've always read it as T-Box, but I'm not sure if that's how you actually say it. I need to get some water really quick before we get started. But thank you to those who are here already. Please enjoy some video game music really quick, and I will get some water, and then we'll get started. I'll kind of give us a preface of what we're going to talk about, but one sec. Okay. Dan, welcome, buddy. Welcome. Thanks for being here. You are correct, sir. T-Box is correct. Okay, awesome. Paradin Films, what's up? Welcome, everybody. All right, so tonight, as the title suggests, we're going to talk about some paintball strategy basics and dive in deeper. Gotta stay hydrated, Porter. Welcome. We're going to dive into some paintball strategy basics. Along the way, I'll be sharing with you guys some tips and things that I've learned and how to not only come up with game plans, but game plans that are informed based on what your opponents are doing. There's a few things that I've learned, especially this last year, that like Mike Bianca, who's now, as you guys know, a pro coach for New Orleans Hurricanes, he shared with me, because I asked him, if you guys remember, we scrimmaged them last year. I'd asked them like, hey, you know, I'm sure, you know, if you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. And he gave me some really profound piece of advice that I thought was really amazing. So we'll talk about some of that. We'll talk about how to scout your opponents and some ways to track that from a practical perspective. And then we'll also talk about the metagame of paintball, but more focused on how to metagame knowing that information. So because pro players, I've said this before, and Dan Halliday from Tampa Bay Damage is in here. Derpy Dino, welcome. Dan Halliday from Tampa Bay Damage is in here, so he can obviously correct me if I'm wrong. Has an insane amount of experience with the pro division. But paintball at a pro level, not that I played pro, but I played against a lot of pros. In my experience, everything goes against pros. A lot of what pro players are doing against each other is based on history with those players. That's why, like, New Orleans Hurricanes coming out of the gate, a lot of people were saying, you know, these guys are a wild card. They're kind of a dark horse because nobody knows their play style. Nobody knows their tendencies. They haven't been scouted yet. But the first tournament this year was probably going to be their easiest tournament. And every event after that is going to be increasingly more difficult because pro players adapt very quickly to players' tendencies, especially coaches. And so, you know, as game plans start to be drafted up coming in for this next layout and people are going to start paying more attention to New Orleans Hurricanes' play style, it's going to be a lot harder for them. So they're very well equipped. I mean, they're a great squad, so it'll be a challenge in front of them, and they know that. But that's just something to keep in mind, is that at the pro division, you obviously have breakouts that are somewhat standard, or you see things that look very typical within high-level pro play, but there's a lot of things that they are doing that is subverting the meta because it's surprising, because it is unexpected, because it's just this high level of processing of information. And we're obviously this isn't going to be like a essay or dissertation on what that is, but I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned in my experience playing against Seattle Thunder, I think like 3 or 4 times, playing against a lot of top level semi-pro teams and stuff like that, and just things that I've learned just through observation. So anyway, welcome everybody. Christian Martinez, buddy, do you know how many people in this chat want you to be on one of my interviews? Do you know how many people? Like, I can't tell you how many times people say, please get Christian on, please get Christian on, please get Christian on. Everybody wants to Everybody wants to hear from you. Christian Martinez, formerly of Iron Man, in the chat as well. So thank you for being here, buddy. A little off topic, but do you have intentions on going pro? Love your channel, by the way. I had intentions of going pro last year. Not that sorry, let me phrase that more specifically. My intentions internally were that I was going to grind till I got pro. And I don't think that those intentions are gone. It's just that this year is such a weird year with everybody needing to take a step back to not burn out, that in order for me to like want to go pro, I have to like recommit myself internally to try and put myself through that again. And I don't necessarily have a problem doing that. It's just that, and I don't mean to like flash this as like a look at me, but like last year alone cost me anywhere between, I say this, my wife's heard me say this a lot. I feel like if I remember right, it cost me anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000, $10,000 to $15,000 last year just to play semi-pro for the whole season. Now, I wouldn't have a problem doing it again. And my wife wouldn't either if we weren't trying to save for a house. We weren't trying to, you know, set up plans for our future and our family. So that's kind of where we stand with that, by the way, or for now. So hyped. I rostered D4 this year, so I need this. Awesome. Okay, well, let's not delay any longer. So let's talk about some basics of paintball strategy. Okay, again, we have 2 pros in this chat. You guys are more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. So this is how I look at paintball. Okay, so this is my unique, I think, perspective on how I analyze paintball and how I come up with strategies for paintball, because I do a fair bit of game plan drafting, especially day of tournament. I'm sharing a lot of my insights and like, hey, I really think we should be going here and shooting this shot. I don't think we should be doing this. This doesn't seem to be the right play, stuff like that. So here's how I view paintball. Let's say that this is your side. Okay, let's say we'll just do this. This is your side and this is the opponent's side. Okay, now in an ideal setting, let's just say we're gonna look at this theoretically speaking. Okay, in an ideal setting, you would want to be on their side of the field, all 5 guns up, and everybody is alive, right? No matter where they're going, no matter where you're running to, right? If you were capable of running at your opponents from the very beginning of the breakout and shooting all 5 of your opponents and not dying because your game plan is so sick, you would do this every time. And people would have to learn how to adjust to that, right? People would have to figure out, okay, they're literally running at us. Can we not get one gun to shoot back at them to kill at least one guy, okay? And then the next game plan might be the same thing. All right, we need to just put this gun up here, right? So now we have 2 people shooting off the break. I know there's a ton of circles right now, but now we have 2 people shooting off the break as a way to stop this advance. Okay, and if you continue that with all 5 players, what you end up doing is you get this counter pressure that pushes people to the middle of the field, right? And in some cases, it pushes each other. It pushes both teams to this line of the field. Okay. Now, I would say that anything within these zones, for most fields, try to not view this under the lens of this field in particular, but I would say with that information, most things are up for grabs fairly reasonably within these zones, okay, on most layouts. And I say fairly reasonably as in, as long as you're changing up what you're doing on either side of the field, you probably can run a play that gets a guy into this Dorito, for example, once every like 3 or 4 points, right? Again, depending on how easily your team is scouted, so on and so on, et cetera, right? So it isn't to say that you can't get people in this 50 zone at all. It's just to say that it's much more common for people to be putting their players in anywhere in this zone without worrying too much about it, okay? So now again, we're all dealing with theory right now until we get to the actual practical stuff, okay? So now understanding that we've pushed either, you know, we pushed them back and they've pushed us back to this 40-yard zone. Well, now we still have 5 guns up, okay? But as you start to increase skill, individual skill and team skill, as those start to increase, the percent chance of shooting somebody who's going to go to this Dorito, let's say every point, increases, right? They're going to shoot against a pro team. If you go there every point, they're going to shoot you every point, okay? So now this forces this person to vary their route. Okay, and in some cases, it forces them to even pull back even further. So now you have the number 1, for example, on the Dorito side pulling back here. And if we do that same exercise in the snake, you have the snake guy pulling back we'll say this. You have the snake guy pulling back somewhere here, okay? Try again. Try not to focus too much on the actual layout. I'm just trying to use this for theory, okay? So now, because you need to shoot their front players and they need to shoot your front players, now you have a person on either side of the field whose job it is to shoot that person, okay? So this is where we get number 1s and number 2s. And I realize you guys are all like, I know this. Why are we talking about this? Because this will help. I'm trying to give you structure for how to create game plans with any field. Okay. So now that we have this, now let's say the way that I look at the home player is essentially what flavor do you want to add to your game plan? Okay. So the home player, who you could really argue plays anywhere on either side of these fields, on either side of this field, that's the person that you use to really decide how you want to express your team's identity, I guess. I don't mean to get like super wordy with this, but you could send your home guy here, you could send him here, you could send him here, you could send him here, and it's all based on what it is that you want to do. And that should be primarily based on what it is that your opponents are doing and what it is that they're good at, okay? So if in an ideal setting you have one guy shooting that side on the Dorito, you have your front player then pushing somewhere out of the back line. The same is true for the snake side, and then you have his buddy. Also, again, we're not talking about cross shots. I'm not talking about any of that. But then this home guy gets to do whatever he wants based upon what your opponent's skills and strengths are. So in a pretty default standard breakout, your home guy would just choose to shoot somebody else on either side of the field. So you would almost always have at least 2 guns on one side of the field. Okay. So let's say you scout a team, you find out that the Dorito player is really good, but he's not particularly fast. Well, if that's the case, then you're going to want to put your home guy on that way almost every single time and either force them to take a smaller bite, force them this direction instead of being able to take this ground freely, force them back towards their start box and lock them up at a zone that's pretty close to the start box. So you have a good containment. You control this whole zone because you're punishing that guy based on his weaknesses. Okay. So that's everything else is pretty standard, right? If you don't know what to do, have your number 2 shoot heads up. And if your number 2s walk off the field and they're like, hey, I don't see anything heads up, then start to have a conversation about shooting cross. Okay. Well, instead of shooting heads up off the break, you're going to now shoot cross, and you're going to do that for like 20 to 30 seconds, and then you're going to switch. Okay. This is, again, at a super basic level. We're just building. We're going to build on this. Jordan, what's up, buddy? If you've gone this far, if you've gone this far, you have to go pro and get paid back. True. So now to add on to this, okay? Now let's say you understand your opponent's weaknesses, at least at a basic level. You know that their Dorito guy's kind of slow. You know that their snake guy's really fast, but when he gets into his bunker, if you just shoot at him, he doesn't really know what to do. Then is when you can start formulating game plans based on that information. So you can say, all right, if we know that their snake guy's really timid, we can dedicate 1 gun to that pretty much every point. So what that would look like is I'm going to send my number 2 here. He's going to shoot for the snake guy, probably not hit him because he's pretty fast, but then he's just going to hound his bunker the entire time. And then we're going to work as a 2-man operation to bully him out, to make him feel super uncomfortable. And all the while, we are giving free real estate for our number 2 on the snake side. Because if this dude, for example, is here and he's getting pinched on the wire and from somebody cross, look at this entire zone that your number 2 on the snake side has now. This guy can do whatever he wants in this zone until he crosses his teammates lane. Okay, this is the side that he has to worry about. But as far as the snake is concerned, as far as this guy is concerned about the snake, he can cross, or he's safe until he crosses that zone, pretty much, right? He can go here. He can even come here and shoot this dude as he does so. Obviously not, I'm saying snake. That is the right side. Yeah, okay. I'm obviously not talking about anything related to the Dorito side, okay? I'm just saying that this is how you isolate and punish people, okay? I realize we're kind of diving in deeper than I want. We'll back up here in just a second. So the same is true for the opposite side of the field, okay? If you're like, all right, the Dorito guy, he's a really good gunfighter, but he likes to take bites really quickly. So as soon as he gets to his first bunker, he's gunfighting to get into his second, and so on and so forth. Okay, well, with that information, maybe what we do is we send our home guy up the center of the field really early, just gun down, and then we post up and hold a gap. And then all we have to do is stay alive in these bunkers here until we kill that guy. until we get a kill 1, tiger 1, whatever you call it, and then we can push up. Okay. And those are some really basic things that you can start formulating game plans around. There are a couple of principles that you want to be aware of when you're making game plans. You typically do not want to be shooting more than 2 guns on the same person, or you could even argue the same job. So more typically speaking, now if for example the skill is really lopsided on a team, then you might put 3 guns on. And my only experience with that is when we scrimmed against Seattle Thunder the last time, which was last year, I think it was February before Sunshine State. They and Corey Field did this against us at WC when we played Phoenix Rising, which is a team he coaches. They were putting 3 guns onto Sage. I don't know where, it doesn't really matter, but they were putting 3 guns on Sage because if they could kill him at the very beginning of the point and then just bully whoever was left on the Snake side, they would win the point. We didn't have an answer to that. It's not just because it's not necessarily because Sage was so much better than the rest of us. It's just that Sage was such a threat to their survivability that they felt it was worth putting 3 guns on him. And the adjustment for that is to push the Dorito side. The adjustment for that is to stack heavy Dorito side, cause Sage to pull up short, and then push the center, and then try to contain them by doing so. It's very risky, but if you can counter punch because they only have 1 gun, if any, shooting the Dorito away, then that's how you respond to that. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. This is what I wanted to say about the guns thing, right? I said if you can have all 5 guns up, you would do it every point because that is just an overwhelming amount of pressure. So if you understand what the ideal is, if you understand what it is that you would like to get to, then you can work backwards from that. Okay. So again, we would in theory like to be able to run to our bunkers with our guns up and shoot the entire time, but we can't do that because our opponents are good enough that they'll probably kill us when we do it. So if you work back from that, then you can say, well, which side of the field is safer typically to run and gun, or which bunker is typically safer to run and gun to, such that we can, let's say that the probability of you getting shot running and gunning to the Snake corner is 50-50. Okay. Let's say it's a 50-50 shot, but if you get into the bunker, then your chances of winning the point are 80%. You would do that every time. You would take that 50-50 for the 80% guaranteed victory every single time. Now, I'm not saying that that's how things work often, but if you can understand kind of intuitively, especially as a player and sharing this information with your coach who may not be playing the layout, it's really, really important to understand. That's why if you watch, there's a really good video called A Champion's Mindset. I think it's a GI Sports video that just came out really recently. You hear a little bit of the conversation that Mike Hinman has with Aftermath, where he talks a little bit about this. There's like a small segment in the middle of the video where he mentions this, where he says like, he's asking one of his players, like, essentially, like, where did you get shot and how guaranteed do you think that shot is? Mr. Dizon. Ronnie, what's up, buddy? Welcome. We have 3 pros in the chat. Like, this is ridiculous. But if you can tell your coach, like, that was just one random ball, there's no way he'll hit that again, and you are pretty certain you're correct, then you can understand that, like, I can keep taking that risk because it was just a fluke shot. But you have to be very good at assessing that. And generally speaking, running and gunning to the corner is almost always going to be a risk, right? In pretty much every layout. But there are a lot of layouts where the Dorito side in particular allows their front player to run and gun. So with that, the current meta of paintball is if you can, 4 guns up. If you can have 4 guns up, that's kind of the default. I'm going to say 4 Gs, whatever. If you can have 4 guns up, that's typically what you'll see pro players or even like high level teams doing. Okay. Which is usually that your front Snake player is running to wherever he can get to, as far up the field as he can. The guy behind him is always running. And obviously the home guy's running and gunning. The home guy's staying somewhere in a dead zone or getting to his primary bunker shooting. The number 2 on the Dorito side's shooting, and the number 1 on the Dorito side's shooting. Now, this is the default. In my experience, if you can get 4 guns up, you're doing a good job. But it is hard to get 4 guns up. And a lot of times what you'll see is players who kind of fake at the start box what they're going to do. And if you guys have seen one of my previous videos, I can't remember which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's the opponent's stack video. I talk about how having 2 guns down on any side of the field is like a big mistake. Like, you should never do that. But again, if you remember, we prefaced this stream by saying the pro league does whatever it is that they can do to survive, because they can win based on that, based on, you know, their game planning and how deep their IQ is. So there have been a few times, and I will even say, now that we have Ronnie here, there are even a few times where I've seen Houston Heat do this in a few videos, where both players' guns will be down. And the reason that they do that is because they're trying to get into this bunker as fast as they possibly can to then get their gun up. Now, that works because if they don't do it, they will lose two, or they will lose one person off the break almost every time. Okay, there are a few layouts where you have to deviate from this 4 guns up. Okay, so this isn't like to rag on Houston Heat or any other team. I'm just doing it because Ronnie's here. But there are times in which you have to deviate from that to increase your survivability. Excuse me. But you should never do that unless your opponents are forcing you to do it. Okay, if your opponents are hitting that shot every single time, well, guess what? You got to put your gun down and you got to dive and get in there. Now, that could be a function of your speed, your athleticism, and that's something that you're going to get punished on as the higher up the divisional ranks you go. It's the reason why, obviously, pro players take their athleticism very seriously. But you need to be able, if you want to climb the divisional ranks, you need to be able to operate at a certain level, like at a certain speed that will prevent you from just getting punished because of your athleticism is lacking, right? That's why it'll be interesting to see how well New Orleans Hurricanes do, because they have incredible game plans coming from Mike Bianca. I don't know anything about their athleticism, but it'll be interesting to see what sort of exploits other teams and coaches are able to, you know, kind of expose from them. And so this is, I guess I'm kind of dancing around, but this is one of the pieces of information that Mike Bianca shared with me, which I thought was really interesting, that can help inform our game plans. Okay, and then I'll read chat because I got to catch up here in a second. I vouch the snake corner was makeable for me 100% of the points at that event, at this event. Yeah, I'm not trying to analyze this event in particular, but that is good to know. But that's the thing, when you go to practice a layout, I've said this before, and Ronnie, Dan, Christian, you guys can all correct me if I'm wrong. In my experience, that first weekend, it is so important that you try everything and find out where the line is. So for example, you might find out that in a particular layout, I'm not using this one as an example, but you might find out that it's super free, or, you know, within like a 60-40% chance, like 60% survivability, 40% not, that you can run to the 50 off the break, right? 60% chance of survival, 40% chance not to survive, even if they're dedicating a gun on that lane. Well, if that's the case, then you now know that that's where the line is. But if you try that same plan, a different layout, and you find out that pretty much every point you're dying, well, then you have to take a step back. You have to say, okay, this, unless we are going to surprise them, isn't doable. The line is here. This doesn't work, and this doesn't work. And then you find out where that line is, and it's going to be based on whatever division you play in. And that's what gets tricky about game planning, is that it's very applicable to whatever division you're in. But you find out where that line is, and you have to do that within the first weekend, because then you start to prioritize which lanes you should be shooting off the break, because you know, well, I don't need to practice this shot, for example. Just take this as any layout, not this one in particular. But you might find out, like, I don't really need to practice this zone, or I don't need to practice this zone because, or at least I don't need to dedicate as much time to it, because they're probably not going to be able to make that. Especially if we just punish them early on in the tournament and make it known that they can't make that freely. Now, everything changes when it comes to Tournament Sunday, but as far as if you have limited amounts of time, in my opinion, you should try to find out where the line is by forcing your opponents to shoot you out of those bunkers off the break, and then work backwards from that. So that way, when you go into the second weekend, you know, okay, these bunkers are pretty safe. You know, as you go further and further up the field, your probabilities of surviving go down. But generally speaking, that's always going to be the case. But we know that, like, this bunker is actually super safe, even though it's really far up the field. So how do we exploit that? How do we capitalize on us taking ground early on in the game by getting to this bunker? And you might be surprised, especially, again, depending on what division you play in, you might be the only team that figured that out, right? Especially if you... Well, I can't really say it for blind layouts because everybody's kind of experimenting and whatever. But that's why if in a blind layout you can experiment really early on and figure out what you can get away with and what you can't, your chances of winning that event go way up, because you were a team that was willing to take risks instead of being like, I'm just going to do a very standard breakout. I'm just going to take it super safe. I'm going to take the back line, and then we're going to learn from there. No, dude, like, your first point, go to 50 off break and see if you get shot, and then play a 4v5 and, like, try to slow the point down and gain as much information from that first point as you can, and then realize, okay, this is actually pretty safe. We're going to keep doing it until they respond to us. Okay, does that make sense? All right. I spoke a lot, so let me back up. I freeze halfway in the snake. I don't know when it's my time to move up. Learn to practice by pushing it harder. Yeah, the red zone drill is really good, and I can show you guys some videos of that here in a second. Especially on this field, once their snake dies, it's free real estate for you. Yeah, again, not talking about this. We've analyzed this layout. A lot of people have already too, so I'm not talking about this layout specifically. But snake corner does not even really have a shot down tape. They have to overextend hard, mentally and physically. So you're going to tell me triple stack the snake corner is a bad idea? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the concept of trying things is by action and not replication, or replicating other layouts until all the variations are sorted. I agree. MSXL doing blind layouts makes that tough for me. Yeah, blind layout. So we can talk more about strategy associated with blind layouts, but blind layouts come to game experience. So for all newer players, play more paintball. Absolutely. This helps a lot, actually. First matches should be getting info. The Russians are really good about trying stuff even during prelims. Yeah, that's the thing, because here's what I'll say, and everybody who's played a tournament can agree with me. Sometimes everything that you thought worked is out the window, because you find out that there's one particular zone that is actually way wider than you thought, or it's way wider than it was at your home field. And then you have to completely change your game plan. Now, that's less of an issue if you go to a field that has, really good refs or a really good staff that really takes care of setting up the layout properly. But in our case, because we have our own private field, but we're not perfect, and we've gridded our field in such a way that there have been some cases where an angle in particular was just way off compared to the tournament, and it sucks because it will drastically affect your survivability, and so you have to learn to adjust to that. So I think World Cup 2021, that happened to me, where it was I can freely get to this can, I think it was an Aztec. We could go to the layout, but it was an Aztec. It's a safe primary bunker, and then they had that can on the Dorito side that was kind of towards the 30-ish of the field, and I was able to freely kind of fast walk to that. Not fast walk, but I was able to run at a reasonable speed and shoot the cross shot towards the China, which was a center-ish wedge, and then the guy behind him who was going to snake. I was able to kind of jaunt towards that bunker against New Orleans Hurricanes. But when we actually played against them at the tournament, and we played, or did we play against them then? I don't know if we did. But when we actually played against teams, they were killing me almost every point, to the point where I was do I have to dive into this bunker? Do I have to just put my gun down and dive? And I tried to sell it, sell different things that I was doing. There was times where I'd get in a running stance and just go as fast as I could and then pull up or whatever. But that was something that was surprising, because the distance for our bunkers was not the same as what it was at the tournament. That may not always be because your layout is bad. It just may be because of how they set it up at the event. So, and everybody knows Florida's ground is weird depending on which division you play. Love what you do. I'm heading out, brother. Have a good stream. Hey, thanks, Ronnie. I really appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you. As a center attacker or trap seeder in the center, how can I break down the field better to help myself and teammates? Great question. So let's do a different layout. Let's back up. I need to turn on the heater really quick. One sec. Okay. Cedar, setter. I knew what you were talking about. Let's use a random. Let's do this one. We looked at this, but I didn't actually. I don't remember it. Excuse me. By the way, I'm gonna make a video about this, but I don't know if you guys have seen recently. I do have a membership now on YouTube. If you guys care to take a look at that. I'm not going to go into everything about the membership. You can read it if you want. Otherwise, the video that I'm making about it, that'll be the intro to my channel, will explain it more. But my hopes is to do this full time, as pretty much every content creator tries to do. But I love paintball. Paintball is my passion. I would love to be able to just travel to events and either play or coach or create content or whatever. So I have two memberships set up. One is $2. The other one is $10. But if you guys are interested, if you like the content and you're curious how you can support it, first of all, the first and foremost thing you can do is just comment on my videos. It doesn't cost you anything. Commenting on my videos is super, super, super helpful. Carlton Lewis, Tonlo. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. But if you guys are interested, if you're curious how do you want to support the channel, that's the fastest and easiest way to do it. Otherwise, join the Discord, subscribe, like, do all those things that are free to you. It really helps me a lot. All right. So let's talk about how to, like you said, how to game plan better as the center player. So Tonlo, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it. So there's a couple things that you want to consider. The first is, how easy is it to win a heads up gun battle as the number one, as the number one on any side of the field? Like, so in the case of the Doritos, a lot of times what you'll find is that the Dorito ones don't actually see each other at a certain point. Okay. So if we were to imagine ourselves as the Dorito one in this layout, we would say, all right, I have one heads up battle right here, assuming we both go to this Dorito off the break. And then if I look on the inside of the field, let's imagine that our opponents are sitting at this wedge right here. Okay. So if I know that, okay, I have to win this heads up, and then I have to wrap really quickly and get this guy to flinch, and then I can dive in and I'm safe. And now, when I'm here, if my opponent is held at that Dorito right here, then I no longer have to worry about him, and I can just gun battle this dude to then make it to my next bunker. Okay. Well, actually, this might be better. This will be better if we do it on the World Cup layout last year, because I remember this in great detail, because I was playing the number one on the Dorito side. So let's just do this. This will be easier. It's almost the same Dorito side, but here we go. All right. So if we get to this Dorito off the break, and we gunfight, whatever, and then we wrap. Oh, was this the one? These pins were not as bad, but you do have to, it didn't feel like they were this far out. Excuse me, I gotta change the color. But you do have to worry about blind shots from this dude coming up, okay? You can dive underneath it, but you have to just be very careful, because depending on how tall the number 2 is in this tower, he can actually shoot your pack. But in any case, you essentially have two people you have to worry about. The Dorito and the tower. If you get him to flinch, the tower guy, and you've got the Dorito contained, you can get up to this baby Dorito and so on and so forth, right? And then from here, you can either go low underneath the tower's shots, which I think you could do at the tournament, if I remember right, or you can, shoot this guy, get him to flinch and go. But you don't have to worry about the Dorito 1 anymore for at least a little while. You don't have to worry about him until you get to this bunker, for the most part, okay? Well, if you know this, if, for example, you find out that, like, all right, the Dorito 1 guy is a super good gunfighter. He's winning the containment on me in the heads-up battle. I can't get him to, go into his bunker. And he's getting our number 2 behind him to flinch, which isn't that uncommon. It only takes one stream for them to go right after. Then is when you can figure out, okay, if that's the case, how can we bait or exploit that play? I mentioned that I was going to tell you some advice that I got from, what's-his-face, Mike Bianca, and I haven't done that yet. But what you can then find out, or what you then can do is, or you can say is, all right, I want to punish that guy's aggression, because it's very methodical. It's very predictable. He goes here, he wins his heads up battle, he shoots this dude, and he goes here, and then so on and so forth. I actually have a video for this. Wrap and go, keep your eyes up. Exactly. But what you do is you say, all right, I'm going to go to this bunker here, and I'm going to just wait. I'm going to give him these 2 bunkers. Especially if your team knows that you're going to give up the first 2 Doritos, then you just have to make sure that the bunker that you're in is not susceptible to dying to those 2 bunkers. Which in this layout, I don't believe there was any bunkers that would die to them being in the Dorito 2, for example. So you freely give them these 2 bunkers. Actually, you hold this gap even harder. You hold it like this. You freely give them these 2 bunkers, and then you sit and wait. You wait for this move. And I actually have a video that will show that. 1 second. Oh, whoops, wrong. Film, paintball, I know, hurricanes. All right. So you guys have seen this clip, but you haven't seen the full clip. Did I miss anything? You did, but that's okay, because it'll be on my YouTube channel. You can watch it afterwards, so no problem. Yeah, you missed Ronnie Dizon, but Dan Halliday and Christian Martinez are still here, so at least for now. So what happened was, this is against FSU Notorious, Austin Notorious, who are now playing semi-pro. But so what was happening was I was doing fairly decent at winning my heads up and just moving bump after bump, no problem. Okay. And this was, I think, I think this was the beginning of the second day, maybe. I can't remember actually. But there's a move that you can make in response to this bump in particular, that if you make it quick enough, you can set up a surprise trap. And this is what happens. Look at that move. Killed me. So he got to the wedge. Now, it was a reactive move. It wasn't, he went there right away. And sometimes that's better than just going to that bunker off the bat, because if, for example, as a front player, you really only see one dude shooting at you and it's your heads up guy, then you know, instinctively as a good player, maybe I'm tooting my own horn here, but as a good player, you would be like, uh-oh, I don't know where the number 2 is. He's probably setting up a trap. I need to be wary of that. And that happens when the number 2 goes silent from the very beginning of the point. If you don't know where his gun is because you can't see the paint, you can't see him shooting, then you need to be wary about somebody being at the center. But what he did was he went to this can and was shooting at me so I could see his paint. And then by the time I got here and won the battle and took this bite, he responded by immediately going into this wedge and then setting up the trap. So I assumed he was still at the can. I think it was something like that. He might have been a little closer, but I assumed he was still at the can. And so when I went to wrap and I didn't see him, because you can't actually see this can from this Dorito, I didn't think he was at the wedge. And then I went and boom, I died. I was dead. Dan is the man. How are you doing, bud? I'm golden. Just watching a little bit more. Not about me. Just interested to see other people's perspectives. No, absolutely. This isn't about Dan. Anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So that's what happened on that layout for me. So knowing that, you can say, I think a lot of traps that you set up should be in response to how your opponents are playing. You can certainly like preemptively set up traps. It's just that they're very easily scouted and they're sometimes easily punishable, because what you can do, if you know, for example, that your opponents, you know, let's say you watch their first series, and you're like, all right, they send a guy at the center every time and he goes to this wedge and he just sits here and stares and his gun's down. We're essentially, if we don't cross this zone, we're essentially playing a 5v4. As long as we don't engage this guy, we're playing a 5v4. So how do we actually realize that advantage? Well, what you do is you get as far up as you can, which in this case would be this bunker and this bunker. Actually, excuse me, it would be this bunker, and then we just push the snake side. And in some cases it could be, all right, we're going to send this guy as an island and then we're going to push 4 bodies this way. Okay. Now you can do that every point until they stop putting this guy here as a trap. If this guy keeps going here and holds this gap, you can do this all day. You can send 4 people on one side of the field all the time, as long as you are still trying to, you know, punish this guy for his mistake. Now, if you do this play and you die here, then, and this is as much field positioning as you have is right here, then you will lose the point because you have really nobody to stop the Dorito push, right? Unless again, they make a mistake and you punish them for that by killing a guy who's taking too many bites. But that doesn't, you know, that's case by case basis. But does that make sense? So like, you're as a home guy, what you're really looking for is like, is this a move that I can make without anybody seeing me? And then therefore, if I am able to make that move with nobody seeing me, who is it that I would punish by doing that? And so like in the case of this layout, a really aggressive hold would be to shoot the Dorito 2 into the 3. This is a fairly, if the Dorito player is really aware that people like to play the wedge, then it's very common for him to snap this, right? But it's a little less common if you decide to give him that bite to the Dorito 3. If you pull up in a more passive angle and you're holding here, it becomes a lot harder for them to wrap this, because that's a really wide wrap compared to what the Dorito guy might do to you, right? So for example, the Dorito guy's right here matching. It's pretty hard. I mean, in this layout, you can't really see it. But I think I remember in the tournament, you could shoot somebody's hopper even if they were on the low wrapping like this. If they were getting down low wrapping to try and shoot the wedge. I'm trying to find the angle. There it is. If you were doing this to try and wrap and shoot the wedge, well, now you have to worry about maybe this guy shooting you, maybe this guy shooting you. If there's a guy who pulled back here, whatever the case is, it's just a really hard wrap to make because you have to wrap so harshly to find him. Whereas if you were to try and challenge this guy from this position, it's not that hard of a wrap, right? You can avoid this guy's gun. You don't really have to worry about anybody here. You're just isolating this guy, shooting him, and then going, and then you're chilling. So, All right, I gotta go hit my workout. Stay on that grind, big dog. See you this weekend. Sounds good, buddy. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow or Saturday. Excuse me. I got had as well. Thanks for the insights as always, brother. Hey, no problem, T-Box. Thanks for hanging out. I totally understand, and that makes so much sense because that happened. That has happened. Yeah. Okay. What else? What else? What else? No problem. No problem. Let's talk more about the metagame. I kind of bounced around a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about the metagame. So, as we said, the metagame contains... We know that the front player tries to take as much ground as is given them, as the layout will allow, and as their opponents will allow. The number twos on either side of the field will always have their guns up unless they're forced not to. But this is standard, right? The number twos will have their guns up. The number one, the home guy will have his gun up almost always, unless they decide to take some ground up the middle, and even then they may still have their gun up. And that we are trying to have one gun up either on the snake side or the Dorito side to shoot for 4 guns. Okay, this is the meta of paintball right now. The other thing that you should consider about the meta of paintball is that every good team plays as though there's a guy in the center of the field. Okay, which means, like Christian said in the chat, you should always wrap and go. But when you do so, you need to check off the center. Every single time. Sorry, I'm drawing so many lines. You need to check off the center every single time you do this. This could be true even if you know that there's a guy in this Dorito here and this guy in this tower. And maybe you saw a guy's gun. Maybe you saw the back center. If you do, maybe you can ignore that. But good teams will play as though there is always a guy in the center. That might change at the pro level because people are really good at scouting. Any insights on pushing snake side easily with no defense 50... With no defined 50 snake, 50 inside the snake. Can you check the layout? SPL Social Paintball League. Yeah, I'll check out that layout. Let me finish this and then I'll get to your thing, Frankie. That's another thing. Always check off the center. Wrapping and going is the way that front players push up the field. The other thing is that the number twos behind them almost always wrap as well. If you, for example, let's go heads up for a second. Again, we're still talking about like meta, which means this is the ideal way of playing, and any variation outside of that is dependent on either the layout or on your opponents, right? But generally speaking, the opposite of doing this is usually a sign of a mistake, or again, something you are doing with intention because you're responding to something. So if, for example, you control this, let's say you control this corner, and let's imagine that you've got a dude in this corner and a dude in this Aztec. Okay. Now, to shoot both of these people, you would play on the outside of the bunker because you don't know what's going on the inside. Okay. It's you might be hearing information. You might even head check to see where the paint's coming from. But generally speaking, you are concerned with what's in front of you. Now, if you own this, then to get safer intel, you would just wrap further. So let's say, for example, you kill this guy and there's a dude here, but you don't know where anybody else is. This is a hypothetical. Well, the safer thing to do and the more correct thing to do would be to shoot this dude and keep him contained, just pepper his bunker, and then wrap and see what else is going on, or come up over the top of the bunker on your side of the field and then gain intel and then come back and keep doing this job, or to wrap like this. Okay. But the mistake that is so often made is that people will, especially as the number two, they'll shoot this guy in front of them and then they'll drop their gun and they'll look on the inside of the field and they'll try to get the information that they're looking for, or they'll just like decide to shoot something else. But there's so many things wrong with that on so many different levels. The first is that this is way more risky because you don't... Oh, sorry. I've got to change the color. This is way more risky to do that because you don't know where people are, right? It's one thing to know them intuitively. Like, he's in the Dorito 1. Okay, great. And certainly, repetition on a field will help you know the angle to set up to snap out of when you're coming on the inside of the field. But it's just so much more risky to do that. Instead, if you killed the guy in this corner and you're dominating this dude, just wrap here and then wrap and gain information. Gain more information and relay it that way. That is so much safer. Now, this is as I tell you what the metagame is, it'll be easier for me to tell you what the metagame is. I will tell you how to metagame that. Okay, so if we know that is the safest thing to do, and the most common thing to do, because it is the best thing to do mostly, then you can counter that. You can punish that, okay? So for example, if you, let's say, this is a real extreme hypothetical, okay? But let's imagine that you've got, so you lost your teammate here. We're on this side of the field. You have a teammate here, and he's getting absolutely hammered, and he's losing control. And they got a guy into the snake, and they still have a dude in the corner. Actually, let's ignore the snake for a second. It'll just be easier this way. So you have a guy here, and he's just peppering this dude, and he can't do anything, okay? Well, if you hear that, you have a couple things you can do to respond. You can either try to fill out and, you know, come behind him and essentially retake this position and then try to win a heads-up gun battle to gain control, or you can take this route and get here. And what you can set up or set a trap up on is that if this guy, I know this angle looks pretty much the same as what he would be able to shoot your god guy behind you, but it's not. But you would very likely see his barrel, if not maybe a little bit of his hopper, and his paint would be shooting like kind of this direction. Okay? That's obviously a little high. But if you sit there and you post up and you know, okay, he's dominating what's in front of us, he's probably going to wrap here in a second. And then as soon as he does, shoot that stream of paint, or anticipate it, shoot that stream of paint, and either kill him or get him to flinch, and he'll call you out and immediately respond. Oops. Immediately respond. As soon as you get as soon as your position is known, just do something else. Either decide to let go of that, tell your teammate, you know, hey, hold the corner, especially if you want to hold it for a second, tell them I got the corner, and your teammate will go, or whatever the case is. But usually the best thing to do is to just drop it immediately and get to the corner, or get to this bunker right here. And now look what you've done. Okay, as soon as that guy flinches, now you have a head check right here, just a head check snap. If you've practiced this, you'll feel very confident in doing it. You have a head check snap, and now what you've done is, instead of being dominated from this angle where you have no control of anything in this zone, you've now made this move, gotten the guy to flinch based off of this play, and now you've gotten wider than they were. Excuse me. Now you're wider than they are, and it frees this guy up to do whatever. And in most cases, what they would do is they would go here. And so you'd have a guy here and here on this layout in particular. So now your positioning is far superior than what it was before. Now, obviously, if they have a guy in the snake as a response to them gaining control, it changes things a little bit. But even still, if you could set up that trap either on the snake or the corner guy, and it would still work the same. It would still work the same. Any questions about that? The meta of paintball is to wrap and go. If you know that, bait it. If you know that, punish it. I can send layout. It's on Guns Up on my account if you want to look it up. That if that makes it easier. It's the new EPL layout. Oh, if you have a layout specifically that you want to send me, you can. I think you can send links in the chat. I think you can send it in the chat, and I can grab it there. All right, let's look at this social paintball league really quick. I'm going to assume it is the Georgia Jam. One sec. Okay. What time is it? Oh man, we're making great time. We're speeding through this. And we'll try to talk more about the meta of paintball here in a second. Oh, another meta of paintball. Your number two, in order for them to keep up, has to try and dominate two people. And trading off that job with the number one in front of them. But the number two can't just, for example, the number two can't just sit here and shoot this. No, I'm going to change it. Can't just shoot the front guy. Let's say the front guy was in this corner and you're trying to stop him. You can't, I want to say, slice yourself off from the rest of what's going on just because you're trying to hold the front player. What you need to be doing is you need to be shooting him and then trying to win your heads up gun battle. Shoot him, heads up, shoot him, change your positioning, whatever, shoot. All right, does that make sense? So that's another thing. That's a kind of a meta of paintball. And again, if you know that, in some cases it might not be better to like shoot. Actually, no. That goes into a really, really, really important principle that I talked about in my second video. So if you know that, I'm trying to make this follow. But let's not worry about it. Okay, so let's say, for example, you are held up in this position. Okay, let's say you've got a guy here and a guy here, and you're here and here. Doesn't really matter, right? And let's say that in a typical thing, you know, one front player wins the heads up battle and he immediately dives. Okay, let's say he takes even more ground than you expected. Almost assuredly, the number one that just lost that battle will immediately try to wrap and shoot this guy while he's, you know, while this dude's gun is down, and then try to match that move. Almost always. This is a really, really good thing to know, because you can bait this, or at least sort of bait it as a home guy who went up the center of the field. But again, if you are a number one who lost the heads up battle, where was the bunker? All right. If you're gun battling in these cans and he gets you to flinch and he goes, all you really have to do is find the guy behind him and shoot him to get him to flinch, and then go and match it. And you have about 2 to 3 seconds to do that before the front player's gun will be up and stopping you. This is why it's really, really important as a front player. Like one of the core expressions of skill as a front player is to get quickly and effectively into your bunker and get your gun up right away. But there's a lot of times, especially in lower divisions, where you'll see front players who dive into their bunker and then they'll just stop for a second and they'll load a pod and then they'll just kind of look around and they'll do whatever. But like, you just gave up the dominance that you had, and you're forcing your number two behind him to fight a 2v1 for however long it is that you decided to put your gun down. And in a previous stream on my Twitch channel, we actually watched WCPPL footage of D3 teams where they did that for so long. There was one point where, again, these are D3 teams, and I think it was like quarterfinals or semifinals, where the front player, the Snake, there was one point where he literally took a bite, got to the Snake 3 really quickly, and his gun was down for 45 seconds and he was not getting shot. He was not getting shot. He was getting like plinked at. And it's just like, dude, what was the point? Like, if you're going to take that ground, kill somebody, shoot somebody across the field. If not, you need to know as soon as you get into a bunker who it is that you can threaten safely and gain control of that. Pressure them, force them to, if their guns are not drawn on you and you're not doing anything, that is a huge mistake. Now, if you're starting to get absolutely hammered, if you can tell that there's at least 2 guns on you, try to find out where the paint's coming from. And then, you know, do the Oliver Lang thing where you're just kind of like floating in the open. You know, maybe sometimes you back up from your bunker, for example. You see this a lot, like Fedorov does this, a lot of pro players do this. You like back off from your bunker to get a different angle, and then there's new angles that open up as a result of that, right? You don't always have to be right next to your bunker. There's a lot of dead zones in a lot of fields that just you can get you can get away with. So Snake advice on the SPL layout would be greatly appreciated. Okay, I'll take a look at that here in just a second. What team do you play on? So much great information. I'm taking all the notes. Awesome, Porter. Thank you. I'm playing on Argentina with the same layout. Okay. Let's look at the Snake. Let's look at the Snake. 1 second. I'm going to take a break. Man. We're hauling. We are hauling. Hey guys, listen, if you're really liking this content, I already plugged my membership. I'm not going to do it again, but get your teammates to watch this. Okay, it doesn't have to be live, and I'll be running a poll here pretty soon asking people when they could tune into a live stream. It's obviously great that people can ask questions and they can engage with it. That's more valuable to people, I would imagine. But share this with your friends, man. I've had a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to send this over to my D4 teammates or D5 teammates. Dude, do it. Okay, so let's look at the heads. I'm just gonna look at the Snake side. I'm sorry, I don't want to like dissect an entire layout. I just want to look at this really quickly while we keep talking about paintball IQ and fundamentals. Okay, a lot of cross shots, pretty standard. There's so many, man. Okay, here's a rule of thumb. Anytime the home bunker, or what would otherwise be the home bunker, anytime that bunker is not in the center, or like right at the baseline, and you have to like run up to it, that is always an opportunity for your corner guys to run and gun and shoot at the home guy. Always. So if every point they're sending a guy to that center tower, it is always acceptable to shoot back at them by running and gunning to the corners. Okay, you don't always have to give up your gun just because, like, for example, if you look at that tall tower, as a front player, if I'm imagining I got to run to this Snake, I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, that is super scary. This guy, not only from here, like right here, this whole zone, as soon as you pass the pin to the can, is super open. Okay, Well, if that's the case, I can either decide to give it to him freely by running with my gun down, or I can decide, you know what, this guy has to run too. So I'm going to challenge him. And you know what you should do knowing this? You should run drills where you do that. You should run drills as the front player and have somebody on your team run up to this bunker shooting that. And then you guys just run that drill over and over again. And you should do that until you both can just shoot each other every time. Because from there, then what you can do is you can start running variations off of that. You can start, as the front player, what you might do is you might run up to this tower here really quick, shoot heads up, and then dive underneath close, right? Because the distance between where paint will land here versus here, or even here, is hugely different, right? There's so much room for variation if that's the case, right? Those are all totally acceptable ways to get into that can. So that's the first thing I like to do, is I like to see if I have to go to a bunker that's shorter than I would want to go, what is the safest way to get there, or what are my variations of getting there? Obviously, you could go to this Aztec, right? But why would you do that as the front player? As the front player, you would be squishing your entire team so hard on the snake side that it probably wouldn't be worth it. But certainly you could double this up if you wanted and then fight from there. But it's just, this is such a bad thing to do because I feel like you're giving up so much of the zone control on this side of the field. But anyway, so let's say you get to the can. Anytime you have a true heads up in your first primary bunker, you should just know that, like, I gotta make sure that my snap shooting is good. Like, there's nothing really else to analyze about this. You just need to make sure that you practice this shot and you snap it, you run gunfight drills, whatever. Your gunfighting skill will directly reflect how well you win this fight, okay? You have obviously a corner that can pressure you really hard. So that's important to know, that if you, for example, if you take this bite, let's say you go here and they go here and here, now you're in for some real trouble. This is going to be a real hard situation, and the only thing you can really hope for is maybe backing off of the can. I mean, obviously we're not, you know, the guy on this Aztec over here could kill you if you did this, but it might be that if you see that guy get here, you back off for a second, you win the heads up battle by blinding out the corner, and then you get over here really quickly, and then you run up. That has to be done in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the point. You won't have time to do it later because people, that's, you know, after the first 10 seconds of the point, people start looking cross field a lot more. And in some cases, that might be the very first thing they do if it's game plan specific, right? So otherwise, run and gun to the corners, pretty standard heads up, like win the bunker in front of you, and then you can wrap for days. You can see all of these people right here by doing so. This is a weird bunker. Has a lot of protection from the wing, and this puts you at more of a true tape. I don't know if it's actually a true tape. It's hard to tell with guns up layouts, but more of a true tape in a sense. But this is not a terrible, I actually don't know. I'm not going to make any sort of like value judgments. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of blinds. You could blind out the corner really well, but you're obviously playing completely in a dead zone that you would have to get intel from your teammate if the guy, you know, ran from here to here and killed you, which is super easy to do. You've got this shot, killing a pack or shooting a pack possibly if they're playing off their bunkers. But again, you're pretty safe right here because of that wing. And the only person you got to worry about is that Aztec. I don't know why you would go here except to leapfrog. So if you went here, then it might give you free access to this lane right here. You got to worry about the tower still. But if you get here, snap the tower, and then go down. You know, I can't go down low and move, but you get here, all of a sudden, boom, you're good. You're in a pretty standard, I'm going to get pressured by the guy in the corner, and I just got to look for inside kills while I wait for him to stop, while I wait for him to get bored, essentially. But I would say that your first kill zone... So if we look at each snake, what I also like to know is who can I kill for sure when I get to a bunker. So you can't kill anybody for sure here. You could, you know, kill somebody whose head's poking out, but that's not a for sure kill. Everything else is heads up. Nothing for sure here. This isn't a bunker I would even bother. This is not how I would play this unless you have a lot more protection than it's showing. But if you get here, your first kill bunker is here. So if they've taken a huge bite and for some reason they're still staying here and they're not shooting at you, this is their first bunker you can kill, guaranteed. You could argue maybe this, but they could probably just hug the Dorito side and you wouldn't see them. You could get a pack here, but it's not guaranteed. So this would be, all right, as soon as I check this off, that Dorito, the next thing I'm looking for is these guys. And if I see packs, I'll shoot him. If not, I'll just pressure it for a second. This is where this angle right here gets kind of risky. You have to be very careful because this is where a lot of times number 3s or number 2s will just sit and post on you until you continually wrap on the inside of the field. So for example, oh, whoops. So for example, if every time you got to the snake, you just went, you checked off here, you checked off here, and then you checked off here. Well, guess what? This guy's just going to sit here and post on you until you wrap, and then he's going to shoot a few balls at you and you're dead. So no guarantees besides that Dorito. If you go here, well, now I think you're pretty guaranteed to kill this guy, or at least pressure him really hard. You're going to kill a can, whatever positioning they have in that can. You'll probably kill this guy here in this wing. It's a very scary challenge, but you will probably kill somebody here and here. Obviously, they can always favor the Dorito side really hard, but now you're starting to force people onto the Dorito side, right? They're now having to live behind their gun on the Dorito. So this positioning is really threatening. And then nothing else. And then usually once you pass the 50, it's just like everybody's back is to you. So everybody's packing back as soon as you get here. Like if you're right here, well, you can't be because of the corner, but if you were to be right here, well, now all of a sudden you've got this guy, this guy, this guy. Not that guy, actually. Not this guy. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So I usually don't like, you know, as soon as you pass the 50, there's no real exercise in like seeing who you should shoot first. It's just everybody on the other side of the field. But as far as like what I would do, well, if you make it past this can, oh, actually, that's not even true because there's this zone right here to the tower. Sometimes there's like only like a small area you have to worry about, and then when you cross that area, you're golden. You can just go all the way. Holy crap. There's so many. Okay, so here's what I would say. If you pass this zone right here, if you pass this zone, you're golden to get into the snake. You don't need to stop here. Off the break. Okay, if you survive, don't stop here. Just go right away, because you'll dive right here, and this dude's paint will hopefully, depending on the layout, won't even hit you because you'll be close to the pin as you dive in. And then from there, you got to be careful because you probably can't go. I don't know. The angle might be different. You might be able to hug close left. You might be able to hug close left and get in here this way, but you couldn't do it this way. You'd have to hug really close. So if you find that out, then what you tell yourself is, okay, well, if we survive this part of the breakout, that means that we're going all the way into the snake 50 or whatever this thing is. Is that what that is? Yeah, that's the snake 50. Okay. Otherwise, it looks to be that your primary bunker is going to be this can. I don't really see a reason why people would dive here. Oh, I guess this guy could kill you. Never mind. This guy could kill you. Yeah, just kidding. So your primary bunkers are probably going to be, I would probably say this would be your safest. So we'll do an order of safest is 1, least safe is the highest number. I don't know why, but I'd probably say that's pretty safe. Next to this, next to these are the same. Next to this, so these two bunkers are the same, I would say. So just play around with that. That's my suggestion. Joe Labrandy. Hey, brother. Thank you for the solid advice. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Any other questions? We got 22 of you in here. Welcome, welcome. Thanks again, Tonlo, for the membership. If you guys are looking for ways to support the channel, consider doing that. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe. That's always super, super, super helpful. But trying to think. We talked about... All right, let's back up for a second. Let's turn down the music. Okay. Let's recap. So we've talked about basic paintball strategies, my philosophy for how you break down those strategies, like how you create a strategy. And we've talked about a little bit of the meta and ways that you can metagame based on that information, which is, again, essentially just subverting whatever it is the most common thing, whatever the most common thing is that people are doing, figuring out what it is and then subverting that. We've talked about, what was the other things we said we were talking about? Scouting your opponents. Okay, I said that I was going to tell you a piece of advice that Mike Bianca shared with me that was really, really important to know, and was what they were just abusing it, that information. And then let me read the chat. And for the Dorito, thanks for the advice. Okay, I'll go over the Dorito now. But what he said to me, so Mike Bianca, New Orleans Hurricanes, we scrimmaged them last year. What he said to me is that every time I got into the Dorito, especially the first Dorito, I would get on my knees. I would be on double knees. And that was telling him that I wasn't going to take a bite right after, that I was planning on being planted here for a second. And so they knew that if I took Dorito 1, that they had a few seconds, or they had maybe 30 seconds. I don't know. I don't think I would take that long to move up the field. I would respond every time I was given the opportunity. I would immediately get up and go up the field after that. But what he felt like that informed him was that, okay, if I'm getting on both of my knees with both of my, my ankles locked down, like kind of an Alex Goldman style position, I wasn't going to be as quick at responding to what they were doing as I otherwise could be. Or that, for example, what difference does being on your knees tell you compared to being on your feet? In the case of the Dorito? Well, at the very least, it tells you that if you're on both of your feet when you get to your first Dorito bunker, it means you can respond. You can take a bite immediately after. That's what that tells you. So it means that if you see every point their front Dorito player going high on their feet, it means that they are ready to go right after that. Now, what do you do in response to that? Well, you might find that there's a cross shot that you can shoot that will actually threaten his survivability, that he's not even aware of. You'll actually hit him in the top of the head. Oftentimes it's like a snake corner bunker or whatever, right? So you should look for that. The other thing it might tell you is that, well, if we instead of risking our bodies to try and contain this crazy person who's wanting to immediately move up the field, maybe what we do is we just give it to him. And then instead we send a guy up the center and try to kill him on that move. That's what we do. And that's what New Orleans Hurricanes did all the time. That's what they did all the time to us, was that they would say, just stay alive, give them the advantage, and then we'll set up this trap. Okay? And in my experience, that's one of the hardest things about going up the divisions, up and up, from Division 4 to 3 to 2 to semi-pro, is that you can't, it's almost like, I don't know why this came to my mind, but it's almost like you can't always trust a fart, right? I know it's going to sound really funny to say, but like, just because you won your heads-up battle, the higher the divisional ranks you go, it doesn't mean that you're free to go. It doesn't mean that you can just go all the way, right? Because there might be a guy in the center on both of his knees and elbows waiting for you to cross that zone. And so it forces, this is why playing paintball at a high level or at a pro level or semi-pro level or whatever, oftentimes you'll either see points that end in 30 seconds to a minute, or you'll see points that last 5 to 8 minutes. It's because once you start to suss out your opponents and their tendencies, or maybe you don't even suss them out, but you're just very cautious of certain types of plays, you're very, very careful to take that bite, even though the guy in front of you might be giving it up, right? Now, the way that you can counteract that is to make those moves really quickly. So, for example, the faster you can get out of this Dorito, if not right off the break, the less likely it is they're going to be at certain parts of the field, right? So in the first 5 seconds of the point, this guy can't really be here. Or if he is, he can't really be a threat to you unless he's literally running and gunning with his gun up, right? Which is just super risky for them. So that means that if you get to this bunker and then you dive here within 5 seconds, you don't really need to worry about this guy. But if you do that in 10 to 15 seconds, this guy is a problem now, okay? And obviously, the farther up the field you go, the more these times, the more these equalize, okay? Does that make sense? So that means that all right, well, let's say I take my first bite in 5 seconds and my second bite 5 seconds after that. Well, maybe that means that they've got a guy here who's set up on you. Okay, that's why a lot of times when I talk in my videos or on stream, I say within the first 5 to 10 seconds of the point. That's the window in which the most commonly quick secondary moves are made, is in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the point, because very few people's guns are set up and in a position to essentially bait you into a certain bunker, or rather a certain zone. I sent the layout. I don't know if you can bring it up in chat, but if you could break down that advice, that would be help a lot. All right, sounds good. I'll take a look at it in a second after I do the Doritos. So let me do the Doritos really quickly. Hold on. Adrian Kelly, never played paintball in my life, but I'm a competitive Nerf player, and your videos have been super helpful. National tournament coming up. That's awesome, dude. Nerf tournaments. That is I'm actually looking it up right now. Hold on. That is so cool. That is really, really cool. I'm gonna check it out. All right, let's look at the Doritos here really quick. And I'm glad that they're helping you, man. That's really, really awesome. I have no idea, because obviously, like within Airsoft also, Airsoft has like a scenario, and then they have like a competitive, and sometimes those competitive tournaments exist on like similar layouts to like Speedball. So I'm looking at some of the thumbnails for these right now, and it looks like that's so cool, man. National Blaster League. All right. So again, running the same exercise, I always look to see, as a front player, I look to see who is it that can kill me while I'm running to my bunker. This is a massive, massive gap right here. But to be fair, the person that you would be most concerned about killing you is this home guy who would be running up to his bunker. Which again means that in some cases, it will actually be safer for you to run and gun out to this zone than it would be to run the same zone with your gun down, because you'll be applying pressure back at them. So that's something I would definitely explore. I would explore running and gunning a lot. I would run and gun until you get shot, and then I would run with your gun down is what I would suggest. And shooting back at the home guy. You obviously have cross shots here. You have cross shots right here. But just know that the farther away you get from this... Oh, can't see that line. The farther away you get from this axis... So... if we were to draw this, let's see, like that, your accuracy goes way down the farther you go. I don't know, there's probably some trigonometry you could apply to this, but like your accuracy from here shooting this direction is pretty good. If you're a good shot, it's like, 90% or something, maybe 100%. Oh, it's a 9%, 90%. But the farther out you go and the more harsh your angle becomes as a result of that, your accuracy will almost always plummet. It'll go like sub 30%, if not less, which means it's not actually worth it, right? It's not actually worth it to be running and gunning and shooting this shot right here as this number 1 Dorito guy, because your chances of hitting them, you have to shoot so far behind you that where you're actually aiming is kind of like this, and then your paint is going to go like this as you're hoping to hit them, and then your chances of hitting them are here, and they're probably going to be even past your guns when you do that. It's not to say you can't shoot them, right? That's not to say that, but your chances of shooting somebody on a cross shot is really good right here, but then it gets really bad when you go here to here. It's gonna go real south as you try to take this shot here to here. Okay, just keep that in mind. So you're really because of that, you're only concerned about shooting this guy. So you could dive in here pretty easily, pretty safely if that home guy doesn't kill you. You got a really crappy heads up shot. And I say crappy because everybody knows, if you played behind these bunkers, this little corner right here is like the corner of death. It's got the little like ties on it, and it's just, they get in your way. These are hard bunkers to fight from. So this is a really harsh zone. But the advantage is that this only requires to get somebody to flinch. So if you get somebody to flinch, you can take that bite, at least in a heads up, at least in the case of a heads up. Oh my gosh, this zone. Okay. So this means that even if you win heads up, you can't just freely take this bite, because this guy will probably kill you. So what does that mean? Okay, well, that means that your number 2 might actually be the guy to go here. Your number 2 might be the guy to go here and try to hold this zone as much as possible and just shoot a bunch of paint forever, while your number 1 runs and guns to this Dorito. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. All right. So then from the Dorito, You've already crossed the zone, so now you've just... Okay, that works. Now you've just got this Aztec to worry about. So that means that what I would probably suggest is consider this your default number 2 bunker, and this is your default number 1 bunker. Your 1 probably running and gunning, and your 2 diving in, or maybe both are running and gunning, but the problem is you might be shooting each other, right? You might be shooting the same zone. So you might be able to alternate, or you could, even better yet, you could delay. So you could do this. That'd probably be a lot safer. I don't know what the angle is exactly. I can look at it in just a second. One sec. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would send your number 1 here, and your number 2 here. And then within the first 5 to 10 seconds of the point, send your number 2 here. Especially as a response to this guy diving out and surviving. If this guy lives, your number 2 should try to get to this brick. Otherwise, he might be just, he might just be Bing chilling right here. Okay, let's go back. Hopefully that makes sense. So all you've really got is a low heads up battle. Like you could be the lower you go, the safer you are typically from crossfield shots. So if you get low, you get this guy to flinch at all. This is such a great distance that it's, again, if you get a single stream that is accurate, that's your time to go. So then you take this bite. Any up the center shots you have to worry about? Not really. If you are halted here, the longer you are halted here, the riskier and riskier it becomes to take this bite when you win the heads up battle. Okay, we already talked about this. I'm not going to repeat it again. But if you don't take this bite until like 30 seconds into the point, well, now all of a sudden you got to worry about a guy being here, maybe even a guy being here, or a guy being here. But if you take this bite as soon as you beat this dude in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the point, then you're free to go. You're free to get to that Dorito. Super, super free. So take that. I would probably fight this guy really quickly. You can even, oh man, you're so safe to do it on the inside too. This is what I would do. I do the go high or shoot high, go low trick from Trevor Reeser. So get into this bunker, come up, shoot this guy on the inside of the field. As soon as you get into flinch, go low immediately into this bunker. And all of a sudden you're soaring. You're so free if you make these moves early. So, because look at this. As soon as I'm in this baby Dorito, I don't have any reason to stop if their Dorito guy is doing even the same thing that I'm doing. Oh, this might kill you right here, actually. If you go around too quickly, that might kill you. But so be careful of that. But otherwise, when you get to this bunker, check that off really quick. Go here, bingo. Like you don't have to worry about your Dorito guy as long as your number 2 behind him can contain him. And even, okay, here's the next one. This is the next puzzle piece is right here. So from this bunker, low, you want to be low here. And you want to make sure the guy on the tape can't see you when you do it. So hug this bunker, come out, snap, get into flinch, and now all of a sudden, look at this dead zone. Again, we're not concerned about the snake side for a second. We're just trying to dissect what's in front of us. So now you've got this interesting dead zone. Let's back up here real quick. This dead zone right here. This guy can't see you, and this dude can't see you. Which I only point that out because usually dead zones are a great way to surprise people when you want to snap out or when you want to like take more ground. Instead of snapping out from this position, you snap out from here. Or excuse me, from here. Changes the angle. And then if you get into flinch, you're here. So we did say, however, that if they got to the 50 snake, you are dead in this bunker. So the only thing I can say is we just know that if you go here and they're in the 50 snake, you are in a worse position than they are, because the snake can survive if they just lay down, but you can't survive if they decide to shoot at you unless they just miss. So that means that you want to try to skip this bunker if you can. And the best way to do that, again, the faster you make these moves, the safer it is, typically speaking. But if you start to slow play up here, you really need to like plan to take the bite from here to here. If you are in the mid game, you need to go from here to here, in my opinion. So, all right, here are the routes for the number 1. The number 1, I would just say the number 1 shouldn't go here, personally. I just don't think it's worth it, because the zone control from the Aztec into the Doritos is super harsh right here. But you could always back up and go to that. But if you were gonna do that, why not just go to the Dorito off the break, right? Because you're gonna get shot from the same zone, either here or here. It's the same shot. So just go to the Dorito 1, win the heads up gun battle on this dude, get into flinch, go here immediately. And then from here is where the long haul is. This is where you'll spend the mid game probably. and then get here as quickly, as safely as possible. That's my suggestion. Now, that's what you run until they stop it, until they either start killing you here, and then you have to say, all right, well, now I can't, I have to take a weird route. I either have to go here over, or I have to take the baseline, or I have to go straight in, or whatever, right? Because certainly if you go straight in, you could just go here too. If you just take this route, you might also be able to do that, because the difference between shooting here, or excuse me, shooting here is enough to make you safely run into this bunker, right? Their paint's going to be going over you, especially as the home guy. Like, the home guy is going to be shooting high enough to get to this spot that you'll duck underneath it easy. So you've got a route here, baseline route here, you've got this route here, you've got this route here. Lots of different options to get in. I mean, you could even argue you've got this route too, right here, but there's a lot of exploration, and I hope it's not like, what I don't want this to be is like, yeah, you can just go anywhere here, but like, try to understand the routes and then suss out for yourself what's the safest and what is not the safest. All right, let's pause here. Mason Paul, it would be a major help for that other layout. Okay, never played paintball. I read that one. 50 to read off break. We were playing this layout this weekend. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, you could probably do that too. Like, again, I don't know what divisions everybody plays. So in division 4 and 5, you could probably do that easy. And I don't mean easy as a disrespectful thing, but like, if the guy's going to miss you, like, people trail in lower divisions, people trail a lot when they're shooting. They're shooting behind them. So, but just understand that, like, if I see a guy, if I'm playing this position and this guy crosses my zone, the next place I'm shooting is probably here or here. If he goes underneath it, the next place that I'm adjusting, which might be too late, is here, right? And that's where I'm going to kill the 50 guy. Even as much of a, you know, it's still probably risky, but like, this gap right here is definitely there. Okay. So just know that you can try it, do it, find out if it's a blind, and this isn't a blind layout. So try it, give it a shot. SPL is D5, D4, D5. So yep. Okay. Beautiful. Try it. Do it. Absolutely do it. If that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire tournament you see people going here off break, or again, doing this run or whatever. I think you'll see a lot of people using this as a blind to get to these two bunkers pretty commonly. So if you guys are able to like really dial in your shots, you will win the Dorito side. If you can kill this front player right here, dude, you're going to win every tournament or every point, in my opinion, because their adjustment, it's going to feel so far back. It's going to feel like such a punishment to double up this bunker, or to send your number 2, send your number 1, 2 here, or send even your number 2 here and your number 1 here, or whatever. It's going to feel like such a defeating feeling that D4 and D5 players are not going to be willing to do that. They're going to be like, we just got to risk him out. We just got to get him out of there. We got to find the way to get him alive out there. But it's totally okay to just be like, all right, hey, this isn't working. Let's double up here for a second and delay for 5 seconds and then push out, and we'll be golden. So, but all right. You say you sent me this layout. Is it in paintball chat? Let's see. Where did you send this to me? In what mode did you send me this layout? Who was it? Frankie? Slow walk that center tower, shooting that D side is my hope to kill D. So that's where I was saying, if you, I don't know, I think you've been here the whole time, Chris. I'm not sure. So what I was saying is that if you slow walk this, if you find anybody slow walking this, your number ones should both of them should absolutely run and gun to the corner and kill the home guy. I promise you that if your opponents are doing that, you can kill them every single time, especially if both people are doing it. Okay? If you find that they are slow walking to this bunker, I promise you that you can get away with this and you will kill them every single time. And do it until they freak out. Do it until they have to run with their gun down or whatever. If they're so desperate to get to this bunker, you should do that every time. Every single time. Your corners are the guys to kill the center in those situations. Sent the link in chat. Oh. You know what? I don't see the layout. I don't see the link. So how about I resent it? Yeah, I don't see the link in here. How about you if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord right now. I'll put the link in the chat. It's also in every single one of my videos, but copy link. Join the Discord and then send it in paintball chat. When you join, you have to choose a role, but send it in paintball chat. That'll be the easiest way for me to get it. All right, let me go back. Beautiful. I'll rewatch this stream. I got here when you started the D-side talk. Thanks for the bro help. Pay attention, Jay. He's good. Chris, I'm so glad you're here, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, join the Discord. Send me the link there. I'll walk the layout. So introductions, welcome. Choose the role by going to the roles channel and reacting to either the baller emote, the gamer emote, or both. And then once you've done that, you'll be assigned the gamer role, and then you can go to the paintball chat and post the link there. Bam's Geckos. I know who that is. Brandon, what's up, buddy? Brandon, my teammate. My buddy, my pal. My guy. As some would say. As the kids say. So I'm reading Discord chat while I wait for that link. My HK free lines are about worn out. This is in my Discord. Need some new pants for upcoming event. What do you guys like in the jogger fit territory? Bunker King flies look dope, but I'm concerned with a couple of things about them. HK TRK airs look like my favorite right now. Just curious what you're all using. I'm a snake one, by the way. In terms of, I probably wouldn't do the Bunker King flies. Those rip really commonly for snake players. They're a good pant. I like them. I don't wear them anymore. I wear my weapons joggers, but I'm not a front snake player. I know that Sage likes I think everybody on our team likes the joggers, the weapons joggers, but I like them because they actually have proper padding. Like they have the kind of the slick material on your knees, unlike other joggers, which are just like, they're literally sweatpants for paintball. So I like those a lot. I don't have a ton of experience with joggers though, so we don't wear HK. I don't have any experience with the HK pants, but I don't think T-Box is here, so. Okay, while we wait for this, okay, the other thing I wanted to mention to you guys while you're here, before you guys take off, by the way, we're streaming for another 30 minutes, so please stick around if you're enjoying yourselves. But with everybody who's recently joined the server, so I have a lot of paintballers now. And in fact, if I go back to my Discord server, I have 90, almost 100 paintballers in this server, which is insane. You guys have been joining like a freaking, I don't know, infestation. not it's a good thing. But I do have interest in hosting some kind of community event where people can get to know each other and get to know where people are from and stuff like that. But I want to do it in the form of video games. So I'm not sure exactly what I'll do yet. I know that Milson in the Discord suggested Snapshot VR, but VR is a little bit, the barrier to entry for VR is still kind of high. So I'm not sure what I'll do yet. If nothing else, it would be awesome for people to tune into the stream and just to enjoy that, a community event. But just know that that's something I'm super, super interested in. So I love the Virtue Joggers. They feel, they just feel comfortable. I don't have the Virtue Joggers, but I know a lot of people really like them. 2D paintball. 2D paintball, is that a thing? 2D paintball. What? How did I not know about this? What? Okay, thanks. God, you think Comp Nerf is cool? The tournament this year is Foam Pro Tour if you want to check it out. Awesome. Yeah, I will. I saw you typing in the chat, Frankie, but I haven't seen the link come from you yet. What is this? The layouts are blind, but they seem to be going for less and less cover, which I hate. Oh yeah, what? That's so funny. You'd think that there'd be a lot more. Okay, what? Wait, whoa. Join red team. What am I? How do I move? What happened? Random field. Okay. Oh, there we go. 3. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna wait till, just give me just a second. I want to just see this really quick. Oh my gosh. Get absolutely wrecked. This thing is freaking sick. How do I not know about this? Get him out. I'm running down the tape. I'm running down the tape. Get him out. Amazing. I did not know about that. 2D paintball. It is. 2D paintball it is. We will absolutely do that. That's freaking cool, dude. Okay. Yeah, I sent the link. There's a Discord. Yes, there is. Okay. Does anybody wear those PB Rack Flow leg pants anymore? Oh, I don't know if I know those ones. All right. Frankie, I did see you join the chat. Have you chosen a... Oh, you haven't. Okay. Frankie, I'll just give you the role. I'll give you the role right now. I'll give you the baller role. If you play video games, be sure to give yourself the gamer role so you can see that portion of the server. Otherwise, the server will be very small to you. Didn't Uprising wear the PB Rack pants? Oh, are those the ones that like are really tight around the calves? Mason sending link in Discord. I don't know why it didn't work in the YouTube chat. Yeah, I think it's probably just some auto mod setting that prevents people from sending links in my chat. It's just like a standard YouTube thing. I'm still pretty new to YouTube streaming. I mostly stream on Twitch, or at least I had been all of 2020 and 2021. If you guys are interested in video game content, I do stream on Twitch. You can find the links pretty much everywhere. You'll get a notification when in the Discord server, but I was playing Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball Maxed on the Xbox today, which is really, really fun. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball Maxed event, but it is so like esoteric to get everybody an original Xbox emulator and then get networking to work. So I typed it in general. Okay, let me see. In general. Okay, sweet. Frankie, thank you. Sorry that was such a hassle. All right, let's take a look. Feel free to ask any questions you guys have. I hope you're enjoying the stream. If you do, please be sure to tell your friends and family and your dogs. I have soundboards. I have some really funny soundboards. I said, do you wanna bing bong. Bing bong. There we go. The good old bing bong. Okay. Fixed it, lol. I was trying to figure out how to switch to my personal account. No problem. Oh, there you are. Okay. I was like, not used to the Bam Bams one. Not a problem. I typed it in general. Okay, cool. We good? All right, I think we're good. I'm gonna do this quick. I don't have a problem spending 30 minutes on it, but I know a lot of people are not playing this layout, or at least I assume. So I don't want to take up the entirety of the balance of the time on that. That's a cool snake. That's a really cool snake. That's a cool Dorito. Very cool center. That's a cool field. This is a really cool field. You have a true back center. It's the first thing I'm looking at. Usually what I do is I draw zones usually. So it's probably not a true tape. It looks like that is a true tape. How would I draw those zones? I would probably say, that's not very satisfying. I'm not sure I would. Yeah, that doesn't seem very natural, but this would probably be what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out where the number ones would be off the break, very likely. So you probably find your number ones here. Probably find your number two. You could actually argue that the zone encompasses this bunker as well, but you'd probably find your number two here, 3 somewhere here, number 2 here, and your 1 somewhere here. Obviously, there's variations of this. You could find your number 2, for example, here on that cake. But not usually. What is this layout? I don't know, Frankie. What is this layout? Yay, paintball! When playing home here, you get lit up a lot on your and you're forced to play so tight that we have home guy at Snake Tower. Interesting. So you're sending your guy. Oh, excuse me. You're sending. So I assume you're doing this or something like that. So interesting. Okay. Gets lit up a lot by who? You got pretty decent shots off the break. Oh man, those Doritos. Yeah, I would imagine it's the Doritos. Also, I hate that these bunkers are green. Literally making my eyes bleed. So there's a ton of pressure coming your way. I don't think it's actually that bad. I think it would just be that this is a leapfrog bunker. I think the only thing you would do is you would shoot zones. You would shoot gaps right here. Off the break, or maybe shoot at something up the gut. You know, you'd shoot maybe here, and then you'd get out of this bunker. Then you could either go up the center right here. I don't think that'd be totally fine to take over this job, where you hold a guy here. Tons of creativity and freedom up the center. That's a hard bunker to fight from. Lots of up the center stuff. To be honest, like without spending a bunch of time on this, what I would say with the center like this is the entire play area of the number 3s. So the difference between who will win and who will lose is whoever's the smarter number 3. Whoever has a lot better game sense and doesn't allow their urge to run down the other person always will win. Obviously, it's totally fine to run down the other number 3 and just trade out, but the more as a number 3, like the more you can withhold that urge to I just want to run and get a kill because this is super uncomfortable, the better number 3 you will be on fields like this. So I don't know if you said you're playing this weekend as far as a tournament is concerned, but a really, really, really good drill that you can run. It's a Ryan Greenspan like G2 clinic drill, or maybe is that BKI? I don't remember. It's one of those two. A drill you can run is like bunkers out of a box. I don't remember what they actually call it, but if you write a bunch of bunker names, every bunker name on this field, and put in a box and run 2v2 drills, what you do is you shake out the box, every person draws a bunker name, and then you get to choose which of those you want to play in. So for example, if you get like, I don't know what people are calling this because we haven't gotten our layout yet, but if you call this like small brick, for example, if you draw small brick and the other person draws wedge, okay, like mini wedge, well, obviously it has to be on your side of the field, but that would mean that the mini wedge guy has to play here, and that the guy who drew the small brick could play either here or here. Okay, and then you play in those bunkers. You play the game from there. You can immediately leave those bunkers right away, or you can play it out. But if, for example, if they get tall wedge, if they get big wedge, and you get, like, let's say small brick, then you gotta learn. Let's say, for example, that's what they get, and they get big Dorito, and so they take this one, and then your teammate's over here in like a temple. I don't know why, but let's just imagine. This is a super, super uncomfortable situation to be in. But this is really, really, really good practice. This is a really, really good drill to be really comfortable with that middle. That's a really, really good drill. I don't remember what it's called, but Bobby Corpse, welcome. Juice box. Is that what you guys are calling it? You're calling it the juice box? Oh, it's called juice box. That's actually really clever. That's good. Do RMPL. Everybody's wanting me to do different layouts. I normally do layout reviews at request before the stream. So if you guys... I'm not going to do all the layouts tonight because we only have like 20 more minutes. But if you guys join the Discord and you say in Paintball chat, hey, I got a tournament coming up, or hey, they just dropped the layout for my tournament, will you please review the layout? I will review the layout on stream. But I do it every Thursday. So if you guys didn't notify me beforehand and you've got the tournament coming up that weekend, just know that you run the risk of me not being able to cover it. So I haven't had an issue with covering all these layouts, but we're running out of time. So let me just look at the rest of this here really quick. Looks like to me the 3 is just used to shoot off the break and then get out of there to make a secondary move. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Brandon. This is a decent bunker to shoot people from, like both sides of the field, but then get out of here, right? Just don't stay here. Run up the center. So that's probably an easy move. You could even take a bigger bite depending on... So what I'd like to do, what I do as a number 3, or when I played the number 3, I would just use the intel that I was getting, right? So for example, if I saw the front player running to his bunker and I missed him, then I would immediately shoot behind him. And if this guy got to that zone, then I knew that there was 2 guns that could no longer see me. So this guy can't see me for a second, and the number 1 can't see me for a second, which means that, again, within the first 2 to 5 seconds of that point, I am free to run up to this wing. I am totally free. If I go low, this is a free move. Now, if I get here If I run this whole way and I'm looking heads up and I'm not getting shot, well, you guess what? I can dive right here. Boom. Now I'm here. Look cross. Kill this dude. Bam, 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 bam. If he's high, I mean, you might not even see him, especially if he slides and he's fast. But you might be surprised. You can kill this dude. And if you didn't hit this bunker, you didn't shake it, and nobody knows where you're at. Well, guess what? Now you got this zone. You just sit here. You lay. You just wait. You wait for this guy to get impatient and take the bite, and you kill him. As soon as you do that, you stand up. You wrap. Shoot what's in front of you. Being aware that I could get run down on the inside of the field by the number 3. He might respond to me by coming and running me down. So you got to be aware of that. But if this guy is shooting heads up, if this guy's shooting past you and he doesn't know you're there, then guess what? As soon as you kill that guy, you can wait for a second. If he's just like super patient, he's not taking the bite from the tower to the Dorito, then what you do is you low wrap and you shoot this guy. You low wrap and you shoot this dude. Bop, 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 bop. Kill that guy. Then you run up here. Blind out the guy in front of you using this juice box. Run up, shoot. Get here and kill these guys. Then you wrap here and come and bunker this guy. Okay? You can do the same thing on the snake side. If you shoot here, I mean, you can make the response based on if you kill somebody or not. But if this guy gets past your zone and this dude stops here, what bunker would that be? Yeah, if he stops at the tower, well, same thing. You go low. You look heads up if you can. If you don't, if you're not getting shot at, there's not paint coming your way. And then you go, you can stop here. You can come here if you want to. I don't know if that's a good idea. But otherwise, you dive here, looking up the center of the field. If nobody saw you, well, guess what? You got the same exercise. You can stand up, bait this dude, shoot him in his pack as soon as he takes the bite. Or you can even forget about the snake for a second. You can come here real low, really, really low, and then wait for this dude. Because guess what? When this guy starts to get more confident, this dude's going to bump out, and boom, boom, boom. You kill this guy. Now, all of a sudden, your snake guy is completely isolated. And you can decide if you want to stand up and try to shoot him right here. Or you can just kind of ignore him for a second, look up the gut. Being mindful of where the snake guy is looking, but this guy's going to want to fill out. Okay, so you can shoot him. You can't really hold this zone. It's too reactionary. But otherwise, you can shoot this guy, get into flinch. Who cares if he knows you're there at this point? Now you're running up here. Guess what? Look at this blind right here. Look at this blind. Nobody on the Dorito side is going to see you do this. Unless they just decide to shoot cross on the inside. I mean, again, we understand that the meta of the paintball is the front players wrap and go, wrap and go, wrap and go. This is how you subvert that, okay? Shoot this dude. Maybe you can kill that guy. You might even be able to kill the tower dude. But you creep up here. If you can't see him, you switch guns. Get here. If you can't see him, switch guns. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Then you just run through and try to take a body. Feeding time. Love juice box. Our Markedo, our TMs. It actually looks like just like a pure juice box. True. Our team's gun down call was Kelly Clarkson in 2014, but oh, really? That's still Kelly Clark. Wait, are you at a blast camp? I don't know if that's a blast camp thing. That's funny. Kelly Clarkson. Okay, let's look at the Doritos really quick. So we're going to try to make this quick. So pretty standard heads up, right? When the heads up, shoot the guy on the inside. Be wary of the center. That's all I can say. Heads up, it's pretty good distance. You do have to worry about the center. You do have to worry about three people, which really sucks. Which means that there's 2 ways you can alleviate pressure. And I'll explain those here in a second. If you are... So if you're here... Oh, excuse me. I'll do this. If you're here and you've got a guy here, a guy here, and a guy here, you have to effectively shoot 3 people to make this move, which is something you should not do. So how do you help? How do you make better use of getting out of this bunker? Well, you can, I mean, it's essentially patient. It's a patient game, right? But this dude is doing this the whole time, shooting back and forth between these 2 people, trying to hold it. You might get a kill, you might not, but it is totally possible to make the one feel you either make the one bored so he looks on the inside of the field, or you make him feel uncomfortable enough because you're shooting at an irregular tempo, right? You're not just hounding his bunker the entire time. You're shooting like a stream of 5 to 10 balls, or maybe you're shooting a stream of like 30 balls and then you stop and then do 15, stop, do another 30. You just shoot irregularly to make the front guy feel really uncomfortable. And then once you start doing that, you can start to pressure the guy above him or inside from him, excuse me. As soon as you do that, if you can get the front player to feel very skittish about taking this bite, then this gives this player enough confidence to start doing this. Okay? all the while keeping tabs on the Dorito 1. Now, the best skill that you would need to make that happen as the front player is the ability to dodge paint. So I cannot tell you how much the Fedorov drill is going to pay off here, where if out of your peripheral vision you can keep tabs on the Dorito guy while you're essentially shooting both of these people, that's going to be the best way to get out of this bunker. The other option, by the way, this is not an option, okay? If you're here and your number 2 is here or here, it is not an option to do this, okay? It is never an option to do that, because if he could do that, you should just do this. But otherwise, you're going to die. I talked about it in my last video, okay? The other option is for the number 2 to punch up the center, okay? So, for example, let's say this guy's stuck here. You've got a number 3 here and a number 2 here. If your number 1's like, hey, I got 3 guns my way, not only the Doritos looking at me, but this guy's looking at me and this guy's looking at me up the center, then you can either, in our case, we would say like salsa, which means snake side push, but you could go here, 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 make that route, right? Again, if this dude's just holding this zone, who's going to see you? Who's going to see you make that move? Obviously, you want to check off the snake as you make this move, but if you get here, now all of a sudden you start to pose a threat. You can tell this dude, go silent. Just drop your gun, right? Because this dude, if he looks on the inside, can see him right here. So if he head checks on the inside and sees, oh, I've got a teammate who's baiting this guy down low, I'm gonna stop shooting at my mirror, and instead I'm gonna look on the inside of the field and start pressuring this guy just to make sure, just to keep him honest. And I'm also gonna try to pressure this guy if it's even possible. I don't know if it is from that angle. 1 second. It might be. It might be at the tournament. It's hard to say. Right here. Okay, so what you would do, give up the tape. Just let the tape go, because you got a teammate baiting it right here, and you would see him. He's down low. He's really low, sitting there waiting for it, okay? Then all of a sudden, you shoot these 2 guys. Just keep them honest. Head checking. Just keep telling your teammates information. And now you've set up a trap. You've set up a trap for their front player to make a mistake. The thing you have to worry about when doing that is the number 3 responding by running through. But that's why you're looking on the inside of the field, okay? Because if you're looking here and he's looking here, you're still protecting each other. Because at the very least, you'll get a 1-for-1 trade, okay? And maybe you are so good, maybe you're good enough that you can win a 1v2. Because this distance is far. There's a far distance. So to be able to like get somebody to flinch and go, even in both of these bunkers, is totally doable. It's totally doable. Let's see what else. Oh, and if that's the case, if your number 2 goes here and your 3's here, then your 3 becomes the number 2. Essentially, right? He can either, if say for example you do take the bite and you are starting to make a push and you've got positioning here and here, well now it might make more sense for your number 3 to go this direction. Okay, so your number 3s and 2s will oftentimes switch jobs. Okay, that's very, very common. Very, very common at high level paintball. Good evening, Tommy. Welcome, welcome. Oh, yeah, baby Freddy. Outlaw D4 2013, 2015, when PSP ended and NXL began. Been trying to get in shape again now and get cash to play again. Dude, that's the... aren't we all? Not Outlaw. Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay, let's look at... what time are we? 9:48. Man, we breezed through some of this. Holy... For some of you guys new here, I don't think anybody's actually new. I don't know how many people are actually not familiar with my channel, but there is a link to the Discord server in pretty much every video of mine, including the description of this one. There is a membership that I just started. You can subscribe for $2 a month. It tells you what the perks are. You can read them. They're just emojis that you can use in chat. I think there's one other perk there. I can't remember. It's just a way to show support for the stuff that I do. Otherwise, there's a super valuable player, which is... it's kind of like the moniker of my initials. So SVP Paintball is those are my initials. Stephen Von Peterson. As a kid, I always loved saying that I liked my initials because I could tell myself it stood for super valuable player, which is kind of silly to say, but I always liked that. I thought it was cool. So now that's something that I wanted to call my subscribers or my supporters as super valuable players. So anyway, if you want to become a super valuable player, that's an option as well. But and there's more things to that. There's like private coaching stuff that you can look at if you're curious. If you and your team are starting off in tournament paintball, you're wanting to get better and you just want direct access to my time, that is an option to go with. So, all right. Let's look. We're almost done. Almost done, guys. All right. That's an interesting zone. Okay, let's look at the snake side. Let's look at the snake side. We didn't really look at the Doritos, actually. It's just a heads up, okay? Doritos are pretty straightforward for the most part. You're blinding people out. You're blinding the guy in front of you out while you're shooting the guys on the inside. That's almost always what you're doing. You usually have a heads up battle with the guy right in front of you, typically speaking, and then the first person to launch now has a 1v2, right? You're 1v3ing right here, but then as soon as you get here, you're 1v2ing, depending on where the home guy's looking. So callouts that are really important, tell your teammates where the home guy's looking, okay? Where the home guy's looking off the break and where he's looking once you find him. If you say, hey, the wings on the snake side, the wings on the Dorito side, like that should give the confidence to your number ones to know I'm now fighting a 1v2 instead of a 1v3. And that's totally doable. 1v2s are totally doable. Because again, if you get here, let's say you get here to this Dorito, you won the puzzle really early on. Well, now if you hear that the wing is shooting the snake way, boom, dude, you're in the 50 immediately. You're in the 50 and you can kill him, possibly. Or you can wrap and kill some of these people depending on where they're at. If you know that they're still in that Dorito and they're in that tower, man, you've got so much real estate right here. Shooting so many people, getting up here, challenging the Dorito guy now. You can take a step back, challenge here. If he's flinched, then boom, challenge here. Man, you're so ready to launch once you pass this zone. You're free all the way. All right, snake side. Evening, brother. Biggest goal for this season? For me, it's to save money. So I've had a few people ask me this question. So our team is still very much so active. We're still practicing. We're practicing every other weekend this time instead of every weekend because last year was rough. I essentially played nonstop paintball for 2 years and it was dude, everybody got burnt out. But my wife and I are trying to save for a house. So, and everybody knows the housing market is insane. It is especially insane in Utah. I think Salt Lake City is in the top 5 of most overvalued areas in the country for housing. I think it's like inflated by like 57+%. So paintball was very, very expensive last year. So my wife and I are trying to reprioritize us getting a home. So I'm taking a little bit of a break from paintball this year. I would guest play. I'd probably guest play or I'd coach for sure. But otherwise, we're just playing one event this year. We're playing the ICC in July in New York. And I might play World Cup, depending on if I can either guest for a team or if I can just coach or whatever. But I should be at World Cup this year because I think my wife and I want to make a vacation out of it. So, all right. Let's see. Otherwise, my biggest goal, I really am wanting to renew my gym membership. I did a lot of exercising in paintball in the last 2 years, so I didn't feel like I needed one. But because I'm not taking it as heavy this year, I just need to get back to the gym. I've gained a lot of weight, so. All right, let's look. How's this tower? It's a blind zone, so that sucks. These are always really tough challenge. These are really tough puzzle pieces, in my opinion. Anytime that you have primary bunkers for the number 2s that are blocked or that are obscured from each other, then you have a really complex zone control battle that is hard to break. So these 2 bunkers cannot see each other. They can't directly fight each other. They can only shoot the zones that they'd be going into, which is really, really hard. But the cool thing is you can see where they're shooting. So you can freely, like if the number 1 is past, let's say you're here and you're low, if the number 1 is past this zone right here and the number 2 is right here, you can actually see the number 1's paint or the number 2's paint shooting. And it's actually really cool because it gives you a lot of confidence to head check. So if you get down really low, I mean, you can't really see anything here, but if you get down really low, you can oftentimes analyze what's going on in those cases and then make a decision based on that. So the other thing to note about these blind zones is that the inside route is oftentimes a really good route to surprise people, because what will happen is, let's say, for example, the number 1 is here and the number 2 is here, okay? And this is my perspective, and I'm shooting like crazy this number 1. I'm just like absolutely giving it to him, okay? And let's say I don't see any paint coming from the 2 anymore towards my number 1, and who cares where he is, okay? Well, now it might be like, oh, cool, like I'm good to launch. Let me go, boom. But all of a sudden, who's killing me? This guy or this guy, okay? Because the number 2 took the inside route. So you just have to be very careful when you don't see that you're heads up guy in these types of scenarios, especially as the number 2, to not get super tunnel visioned as far as to just focus on the number 1. Okay, shoot the number 1, switch that job with your front player if you can, and then look to shoot him on this side of the field, because look up, you're relatively safe from the Doritos if you do this early in the early game, and then take a bite up the center. And now all of a sudden, look, you've got the same zone control, but it's even bigger for you now. you can like react to that move. Easy. You can react to that move. You don't have to be shooting the zone for that. But now you've got this. Now you can shoot him here and here. Okay? And now you can keep tabs on him. And if he decides, if he's still chilling, if you've got him contained in these two bunkers here and here, then all of a sudden, boom, you got this move. You can start looking up the center, maybe surprising some people, killing this guy. And then as soon as you kill him, check off your center and come up here. And now, boom, you lose the vision of the one, but now you're starting to surprise this guy. Now you're going to surprise this dude. And guess what? You can go even further. Now you've got this zone right here you can step into. Boom, boom. This is no man's land, right? You have to plan to kill somebody when you make this move. But that's an option as the number 2. Let's look at the heads up for the number 1. This bunker sucks, dude. To like have to get out of this, it would be really hard. I mean, it's still kind of the same problem where you've got 3 people. I doubt there would be a guy here and in that juice box. And I don't think people will be stopping at the cake very often, but I think if people are dying, if people aren't surviving to the corner or to this wing, then they will for sure. But I just feel like that gap is huge, though. That is a huge gap from this guy. But actually, to be fair, you can make that. Yeah, you can make that. You can definitely make this bunker. You can easily make this bunker. The next one is tough. But the problem that you're working with is, so this bunker is super free, but as soon as you pass this zone, you have a problem. For the number 2 has a problem. They have to make a decision on which zone they want to shoot. For the number 1, they either shoot this wing or they shoot the Aztec. So that's really your variation as the number 1. Your number 2 is probably going to float out here. He might take some like baseline route and do it, but he's going to this bunker pretty much. So then this dude can either, we'll draw that zone again. This dude can either just go straight in or he can go here. You could do some kind of delay, but man, delaying into that bunker only increases your chances of dying. And if you get stuck here with 2 people, you are going to lose that point. Excuse me, the 1 and the 2. You're going to lose that point probably. Especially if they took the safe option and you get stuck here. Because this guy then can just challenge all day. This guy just stands up really and just shoots here. And he doesn't have to worry about anything. And then he can go. He's golden. So let's Yoga Man. People really pretty much go straight to the center and that snake wedge off the break. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people go to the wedge and people don't. The thing is, I don't think you need to go to the center off the break, though you can. I think that there's probably a lot of value in sitting here and shooting first and then going. But if you want to go up the center off the break, that's totally fine too. Okay, so getting here, what stops you? The tower on the Dorito side, if they decide to shoot right here. That up the center play would stop you from the, like, up the top using the nipple. What would stop you is the inside route, right? Because the inside route seems to be the safest. Because if you go outside, now you've got to fight the Aztec. If you take the outside route on the wing, you got to fight this guy. But if you take the inside route, you can blind everybody except for maybe the cake. Cake might be able to clip you. I doubt it. You could probably just go straight. But that wing will kill you. This guy will kill you. So it's not super free, but it's almost super free. And then you get here. I don't think I would sit up. I don't think I would use this to shoot the cake. I don't think you need to. I think you would just go to the mini wedge. You could back off of it. See maybe a Dorito guy. Probably not. You could threaten the home, but I don't know, man. If the home's looking at you, that's a scary shot. Otherwise, just wrap. Just wrap forehead. That's a really crappy angle, to be honest. Shooting off of this angle is really crappy. It's the easiest way to die here, probably. But otherwise, you can keep going, man. If you can contain him at the cake, you're in their you're in their snake, like all the way. Yeah, you get here. If you can contain him in that cake, and the number 2 hasn't taken this inside route, which he probably would, to be honest. If you're the number 2 behind your cake, let's look at that really quick. So if you are here, if you got a teammate here and you're here and they're in the snake, they're at least past this here, you need to go here. You need to take this inside route because you're the only dude that's going to stop these moves. You don't even need to go up here. You just need to make sure that this guy can't just get into your snake wedge freely. And the only way to stop that in the early game is making this move. So just be aware. Otherwise, if you can match him, even if he's just in the W, in the wing, I mean, he's going to stop that move. He's going to halt him right here. So, straight to corner. Okay. Okay. Does that help? Did I answer everybody's question? It's 10 o'clock, so we are at the time. We are at the stop time. Frankie, did you make this layout? You did? Or is that a yes to something else? You made this layout? Sorry, I want to wait to hear that response. If you can just reaffirm. This is a really good layout. I did, but it's the same layout we play on. Oh, so I assume you replicated it. I was going to say, if you came, I mean, whoever came up with this layout, this is a great layout. But technically, no, I see. Okay. So I assume what you mean to say is that you brought it to Guns Up. I assume what you're saying. It's a great layout. It actually looks really fun. So thanks for this. It was a big help. Absolutely, Mason. No problem. Thanks, guys, so much for hanging out. I'm working on my next video. From the Discord server, it sounds like what people want is the game plan and breakouts video, which will be different than what we talked about here. It will be, obviously, it'll be a lot more buttoned up like my other videos, but there will be elements of what we talked about here in that for sure. But be on the lookout for that video. Otherwise, I will be streaming games tomorrow if you want to come hang out. I've been playing Apex and Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball, which has been pretty fun. I've been playing Apex Ranked now that this new split started, or new season. I don't know. I guess it's new split. So if you want to come hang out, join me there. It's twitch.tv/ZeakinHD, ZeakinHD. It's also on the Discord server. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next Thursday. So I really appreciate you guys being here. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one. I will see you later. Bye.